And first off, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, and that is if you are coming over here from the Toy Reviewer channel, I did say that I was working on something else that I was really passionate about. That is this. So thank you first of all for coming over to watch this video. I'm really excited because this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I love to do crafts, not just like the craft kits, but I like to just do regular crafts around the house. And today we're going to be making these super cute little paper pumpkins here. I'm very excited. You guys know, again, if you guys are from the Toy Reviewer, you know I'm a little bit camera shy. And you might be wondering, I wonder what Brittany's personality is like. I bet it's amazing. But I am super excited to do these. So let's go ahead and get started. And if you guys would like to see the picture tutorial of how to make these, you can look down in the description. There is a link to my website. Just as a disclaimer, that website is very much under construction. I don't know how to make a website anymore. But I'm very excited. I did put some step-by-step stuff there, and we're going to be making one of these adorable pumpkins. I love them. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's what we're going to be using in this craft today. We're going to need a cutting mat, an X-Acto knife, some scissors, a glue gun, a pencil, an unsharpened number 2 pencil, a paintbrush, a piece of cardstock, a stick, some Elmer's glue, a green wire cord, some orange paint, green paint, and brown paint. And then we're gonna need a small bowl. And of course, we're gonna be using a book, and you can just grab an old book. I got this one from Goodwill for $1. And what do you think of this yellow background, you guys? It's cute, right? So here is the book that we are going to be using today, and I like to use a soft cover book that's about 1 inch thick. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my cardstock and place my book on top, and I like to match it up to the edge of the cardstock. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get a pencil to write with. I'm using a lead pencil here, and what I'm going to do is just trace the size of my book. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I am just going to draw a half circle inside of that traced book shape. And as you can see, my shape wasn't looking quite right. I just kind of go through, fix it. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just kind of tracing it. And of course, you know, you don't have to make it perfect because it's as long as it's just like a half circle, it'll look fine. You can make it a little bit more square, a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. But I think I've got the perfect shape here.
What the? How about a perfect circle?
So what we're going to do now is we're going to get our scissors, and we're just going to cut out that shape. Now what I like to do is on our piece of paper is just write top and bottom on it. That way I know which side is going to be at the top of my book and which side is going to be at the bottom. This way you don't grab your cardstock and then have it upside down when you go to trace it later on, because otherwise your pumpkin's not going to come out right. So next what we're going to do is we're going to get that piece of cardstock that we just wrote on. I like to just kind of match it up to the edge of the book here. And what we're going to do is we're going to trace it. Now if you guys are not using a soft cover book and you're using a hard cover, just skip this step and just tear off that hard cover. So before we start cutting into the book, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out 4 pages from inside my book. I'm just going to take 1 page out of one section, just kind of move along to like a different section, just grab some pages. Take them out in different areas of the book, otherwise you're going to have like a big gap that's kind of noticeable. So I just kind of go around and grab my pages from random spots. And again, you're going to want to get 4 of these, and you're going to set them aside for later. Alright, so we're going to start by getting us a nice sharp X-Acto knife. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting right where I traced the shape onto the front cover. Now, I did realize right after I did this that I totally forgot to put my cutting mat underneath of the front cover, which you can do this without a cutting mat, but it definitely makes it a lot easier. So we're just going to keep cutting all the way around until we get to the end. Once you get to that end, you're just gonna rip off the spot that's not that half circle. So I'm just gonna take all the pieces, like all that excess page, pull it off. And as you can see, again, I did accidentally cut through a bunch of pages because I forgot that cutting mat, but I'm just gonna go ahead and find where it stops and then just tear off all that excess paper. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to cut through the rest of these pages. Now this is going to take us some time, but what you're going to do, oh, I've got an extra little piece here. I'm going to go ahead and tear that off because I want to get that out of the way. Again, that's what happens when you don't have a cutting mat because it did not cut all the way through. I've just got to kind of trace it and get that last piece off. There we go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the pages, kind of fold them over and straighten them out so they're out of the way, and this will also just help us with our shape later on. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my cardstock, make sure the top is at the top of the book, the bottom at the bottom of the book, line it up completely against the back there, and then trace that shape again. Yes, we're going to be doing this a lot. And then what we're going to do is once you've done that, you're going to grab some pages. Now, I wouldn't really know how many pages you'll want to get, because some pages, the paper is a little bit thicker, a little bit thinner, or, you know, you might be a little bit weaker, a little bit stronger. Your X-Acto knife might be a little bit sharper or a little bit duller, but we're just going to grab a few pages and then place the cutting mat underneath, and then do just like what we did with the cover there and just trace the line that we did for the half circle with our X-Acto knife, and we're just going to go all the way around to the end, and then of course we're just going to pull off these pages. So now that we've done that, again, I'm just going to fold back these pages. This is the same process that we're going to keep doing until we get to the end of the book. Just take your little piece of cardstock here, line it back up, make sure the top and bottom is perfect, and then just trace that shape again. And of course, once you're done with that, just grab a small amount of pages, and then you're just going to cut it out and take off any excess. Alright, so what I like to do after I get through a few pages is just take my X-Acto knife and just kind of scrape the glue that binds those pages together. Just kind of scrape off the little bit at the bottom and the top to make it nice and clean. Just pull it all the way up to where you start cutting at the top and the bottom, and then just like pop that thing off. It just gets in the way and it just looks a lot cleaner as you go along. And yeah, so we're just going to take those, pull them back, and start tracing again. And again, you're just going to keep doing this for a while. It takes probably about like an hour. But again, you're just going to line up that cardstock, trace it out, cut it out, and then pull off the pieces of paper around your half circle. And you can see on this one, I didn't quite make it all the way through. I was trying to go through a little bit quicker, but I had to just kind of go back and kind of just cut the parts that were still stuck together and then just pull that off and keep going. And you're probably going to want to grab a snack at some point to let your hand rest. Maybe do some dishes, or play some video games poorly. And here you can see I've gotten through quite a few of these pages. It's really starting to kind of have a nice fluffy look to it, and we're just going to keep going again and again and again until eventually we will get to the end of the book. And then once you get to the end of the book, what you're going to do is you're just going to take all of those last pages, place them on top of your cutting mat, and then just pull that off. You can see I got a little bit excited because I was getting so close to the end. I tried to cut through too much, so I just had to clean it up a little bit, but there we go. We got all the way to the end. It takes like an hour just to do the cutting part, but really, really cool. Alright, so now that we've finished with our book, I'm going to get this beautiful pumpkin orange paint right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour some paint down into my palette. So next I'm just going to get my paintbrush here, give it a little dabby inside of that paint, and then I'm just going to get my book. I like to just pinch my book. I mean, look at this, it's so beautiful and fluffy, but I'm just going to kind of pinch it close, nice and tight, so that we just paint the edges of those pages. I don't want to get too much paint like on the pages themselves. I just want to do the edges in this nice orange. It will take a little while, but then once you're done, you just kind of keep pinching as you go along, and then you can just set that book aside to dry. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get a nice little bowl here. I'm just going to add a little dash of water into my bowl. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this beautiful spring green paint, and we're just going to pour about as much paint as we had water, so it's a nice half and half mix. And I'm just going to take a paintbrush and stir it all together. It'll make a nice diluted green paint. Now we're going to get those pages that we had set aside earlier. For this, I'm just going to go ahead and get 3 of my 4 pages. I'm going to set aside the other one. And we're going to start by getting our diluted green paint. I'm going to get my little paintbrush here, and we're just going to start painting all over the words until you're completely finished. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my second page, do the same thing for that one, and the same thing for my third page. So once that's dry, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole thing and flip it upside down and paint the other side of those 3 green pages with the green paint so that both sides are coated in that nice diluted green paint. Now for the next part, we're going to do the same thing that we just did with that green, and we're going to do it with some beautiful nutmeg brown. Well, I don't know anyone who thinks of brown as a beautiful color, unless of course you're talking about Lupita Nyong'o's skin color. And I've got a little bit of water in there. I'm just going to fill it with half of the brown. And then we're just going to get our paintbrush here and mix that all together to make a nice diluted brown color. And for this part, we're going to do exactly what we did with the green pages. I'm just going to paint one side brown. After that, I'm just going to allow it to dry. And then once that's dry, I'm just going to flip it over and paint the other side as well. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to see if our book is dry here, and I'm going to go ahead and start flipping through every single page, and we're just going to gently pull all the pages apart until we get all the way to the end. And while I'm doing this, I'm just kind of pushing those pages down so that it makes it nice and fluffy when we're done. And again, this is going to take us a while. This actually took me about 17 minutes to get through like all 400 pages. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get a number 2 pencil. I'm going to lean this up against the spine of my book. I take it and I kind of flatten it up against it, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cut about 1 inch short from the top. And I like to just kind of mark it with my X-Acto knife. And once we do that, I'm just going to cut all the way around the edge of my pencil and then just snap it off and clean that off a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to get my book here, and I'm going to take my pencil, make sure that the base of the pencil is going to go all the way flat up against the bottom of the book. See about how much glue I'm going to have to put on there, so I'm just going to start right about there, go all the way down with my glue. Again, that flat end of the pencil is going to go all the way at the bottom of the book, leaving us about 1 inch at the top. Now what I like to do is just go around the sides of the pencil and just kind of bend, and just kind of keep going, bending and gluing all the way around that pencil until your cover is sticking like straight up. And it's really good to put some hot glue on the front and back covers and just glue those together real quick. That way you don't see the covers of the book. And of course, if you have like any pages around the cover, definitely glue those onto the cover so that you don't see like those blank white inside pages of the cover. Now, what I like to do is also to kind of fluff up some of the pages around the back and front cover. The reason I do this is because like the pages tend to kind of all go towards the center, and I just really want to make sure it's as fluffy as I can get around the back of the book. You don't have to do that many pages. Just get it until it kind of looks like a little slinky.
What walks downstairs alone or in pairs and makes a slinkity sound.
Alright, so there we go. There's no real way of like explaining how to do this. There's no like perfect way to do it, but all you're going to do is just kind of fluff these pages so that they're all kind of spread out evenly and just make it look nice and good and round, leaving as little amount of like big empty spaces as possible. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to get those dry green pages, and I'm going to cut a big, fat, round leaf out of these pages. I'm not tracing anything. It doesn't have to be perfect. I know pumpkin leaves are like big and round and fat, and they've got about 5 kind of curvy points to them, but they don't have to be perfect. You can just kind of cut them to match the size of your book. And then once you're done with that, you're just going to take all of those little pages that you just cut out, crumple them up into tiny little balls, and then I like to just kind of spread them back out. Not completely straightened out, just so that they look like nice crinkly leaves. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get my brown page here. Now for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off all of the white around the words, and then I'm going to cut some thin strips of the brown. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my little bowl of like water, and I'm going to do what I did with the paint, but I'm going to do this with Elmer's Glue. We're just going to mix in half glue, half water, and mix it all nice together. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a little stick here, and I like mine to be about 3 inches tall or so, just to make like the little stem on the pumpkin. Coat that whole stick in some Elmer's Glue, and then start wrapping kind of up at an angle with those brown strips. Apply a lot of glue here because otherwise it will want to unravel, and you're just going to start wrapping and gluing like crazy until you get all the way up to the top. Once you get up to the top, you're just going to leave a little bit of extra space, add some glue, and just kind of tuck in the top so that it looks nice and flat and you can't see the stick under it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our big, beautiful pumpkin book. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our green wire cord, and I like the ones that are wrapped in like a cloth, like the string wrap kind. What you're going to do here is you're just going to loosely wrap that wire around your fingers. You don't want to wrap it too tight, otherwise you're going to cut off your circulation a bit there. But what we're going to do is then just kind of figure out exactly how we want it to look once we place one end into the hole, and then you can just kind of snip off what you don't need. Using some more of that wire, just make some different shapes, and if it's too curly, you just kind of give it a little stretch out. Otherwise, you're going to make them nice and curly, but once you've figured out exactly how you want your little curly vine pieces, you can just hot glue those right into that hole that we left at the top of the book, and then fill the rest of the space here with our leaves. So there's a little bit of the cover on this one for some reason is showing, and what I want to do is just kind of cover that up. So I'm going to use one of my leaves and kind of put it right there in that corner so that you don't see that little top of the front cover. And then we're just going to place in a couple more little leaves. You can add more or less leaves, bigger or smaller. I like to use 3 big fat leaves here on top. I think that looks really cute. And then of course just finish it off by gluing on your stick. Alright you guys, well I had a lot of fun making this adorable pumpkin. Now I got some pumpkins, so many pumpkins. I love them. I think they are just so cute. Oh my goodness. And I think they're pretty simple to make. I mean, you can just decorate the tops however you want, but I really enjoy these. Super cute. Absolutely love them. Let me know though down in those comments, are you guys going to stick around for more of these craft videos? I am going to be doing more fall crafts as well. I've got some super cute fake caramel apples coming up that I'm really excited about, and I absolutely love these. I don't really know